Some people it might be, like, for instance, years ago, my depressive states could last days. Then it started going over the last 3 or 4 years especially. It could be 2 days. Then it might go down to a day. Now I've probably got it down to hours. I still have them. I still have moments where I get really low or really anxious. Because I think a lot of that is, some of it's inherited, some of it's genetic. Some of it is just familiar. I've done it for a lot of my life, but it's recognising when you're in it, accepting it, and then going, I feel like shit, so I'm going to allow myself to feel a bit down today, or be a bit, if I'm overwhelmed or I'm tired. But again, it's becoming more articulate with the labels that you're attaching to things. Rather than just depressed, stressed, anxious, angry. Maybe depressed could be, I'm feeling really exhausted. Maybe anxious could be, I'm a little bit concerned by this. Maybe, stressed could be the accurate example. Angry, But what I'm saying is we go to these extremes, and usually it's anxiety or depression very, very quickly, as opposed to overwhelmed, or I felt vulnerable, or I felt abandoned, or I felt rejected, and getting really specific to exactly what's happening.
Yeah. Also, it's when you're in that, like you were explaining then, when you're sort of, you're allowing yourself to feel down or whatever. If you're tired, you're frustrated, and it's allowing yourself to feel it. But then it's also then asking what's most healthiest for me right now in this moment. So you've acknowledged it. I feel like shit. And deploy that curiosity. How come? Well, I shit night sleep last night, whatever, children, blah, 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 stressful situation at work, etc. That's okay. What would be the most healthiest thing for me right now? That, unfortunately, a lot of people then, they think picking up the drink, not alcoholics, but they think having a drink's better. Let's eat loads of junk food.
Scrolling,
where it needs to be like what you just said. Let's just have a nap. Just go put your head down.
Yeah.
You just, especially if it is on the back of poor sleep, just go have a nap if you're able to. Because I appreciate that everyone will be able to do those things depending on the situation, where they're at, if they're in the office and things like that. But what's most healthiest for me right now? Actually, do you know what? If it is like the office scenario, let's just I'm just going to leave my things and walk out this door and just go for a walk by myself. Gather my thoughts. Hit the pause button.
I remember a few months ago, I was watching the Netflix show of Jeffrey Dahmer. And basically it's a guy who, do you know much about Jeffrey Dahmer?
No, that's what I was doing then. I was processing. I was like, who's that?
So a lot of people will know what I'm referring to, but basically it's a guy that used to drug gay men and then kill them, essentially.
Jeez.
Put them in like tubs of acid and shit like that. Truly horrific. And I remember saying to our coach around that time, we were having a couple of challenges within the business. I was like, oh God, I'm just so anxious. He said, what's happening? I said, oh, this is happening with the business, da 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 da. Is there anything else that's disturbing your peace? Great question, by the way.
Great question.
I said, I don't know. I mean, I guess, by the way, when people say, I don't know, I guess, it's always, that's exactly what it is. I have that with clients all the time. I don't know, maybe it's, or I don't know, I'm guessing it's no, that's it then.
A part of me thinks.
Yeah. So I was like, I think it's the show I'm watching at the minute is quite dark, actually. He's like, what is it? And I told him, he's like, yeah, it is. I said, what time do you finish watching that? I said, well, I usually go to bed at 10. So, I don't know, finish the last episode at 9:45, I guess, 10 to 10. He's like, okay, I see the problem here. If your last piece of content that you consumed was someone that's basically been drugged and thrown in a pool of acid, might not be the best. So is there a program that brings you some joy? Maybe you could watch one of those episodes and one of something that brings you unequivocal joy, like childlike humor. And I said, yeah, there's a TV show called Brassic. And he's like, watch that then. I started watching it, mate. Honestly, the difference it made just by stopping watching that thing and watching that instead around the time when I was challenged was so key. And I remember being at my mum and dad's house after my ex-partner had broken up with me, and I was literally in Heartbreak Hotel. You know, I'd fully checked in for a couple of weeks, all inclusive. And I remember, I was going through challenges at work at the time. I just lost my auntie and all this other stuff. It was horrendous. And that was one of the lowest points where I felt like it was too overwhelming to pick up the TV remote, even though it was like a foot away from me. That's how bad it got. But I remember just watching The American Office, and at the time I hadn't really watched that many of them. And then I watched some more. And then I watched some more, and I just started to smile. I thought, wow, what a subtle difference that is. You know, Mum said, oh, you look a lot brighter today after like day 3 or day 4. I was like, because I heard you laughing last night as well, because I just obviously secluded myself in my bedroom, you know, going back to being in my teenage years almost at the age of 30. I was like, yeah, I was just watching a program and it was really funny. And she's like, let's do more of that. I was like, yeah.